Loki Episode 4, titled The Nexus Event, blew my mind 6 ways from Sunday, because nothing I expected, or even possibly could have conceived of, actually happened. We get to see the past of Sylvie, and that the person who actually brought her in was none other than Ravonna Renslayer. But it's hard to tell exactly what Sylvie's crime, or supposed crime, actually was. Just a child sitting in Asgard? It's made almost to seem as though just simply existing was her crime. Just being herself, which seems very odd. So it really does go to show that Sylvie's disdain for the Timekeepers and the TVA entirely makes a lot of sense. I mean, a child brought in not knowing what exactly she did wrong? Sylvie was no criminal. She was just scared and confused and managed to just daftly escape from Ravonna. Honestly, it was a little too easy for her to escape. It's hard to tell if Ravonna kind of let her go, or what, because she didn't do anything to really stop Sylvie when she got her time pad. And so, after the escape of the two Lokis, naturally the Time Variance Authority is scrambling to try to find them. But with them being in an apocalyptic event, it's just kind of like, well, how are you going to do that? There's nothing that would really help to indicate exactly where the two Loki variants are. Meanwhile, on Lamentus 1, the two Lokis, kind of start to bond for the most part because they have nothing else they can really do. They're stuck literally between a rock and a hard place with a planet and a moon about to crash into each other, with them being the squishy cream filling. And Sylvie simply tells Loki her story, that she was simply a child, they took her in, and it made no real sense. I mean, simply being born the goddess of mischief? Why would that be so wrong? Doesn't that feel a little bit more like the timeline just wants to go off and do its own thing? So Sylvie had just been running and running and running until eventually she realized, because every place she went to created branches, she realized hiding in apocalypses was her best bet to avoid the TVA. So that's what she's been doing, hiding in one apocalypse to the next. And that's where she had basically been raised, in the ends of worlds, which is tragic in and of itself. However, as the two Lokis start to bond, start to kind of accept each other to a certain degree, as our Loki almost starts to form what almost seems like love, but more acceptance. I'm not sure if what exactly they're trying to go for here. Whether it's that it is the ultimate form of narcissism, where Loki is slowly falling in love with Loki, or is it something more to that? Is Loki seeing something in Sylvie that he had long since kind of forgotten about himself? Is he kind of starting to understand something, or have an appreciation for something? Maybe it's some form of acceptance that almost no Loki had really gotten before, or you would never expect Loki to have before. But something awakens in our Loki, maybe in both Lokis, that causes a massive divergence on the sacred timeline. We are talking a branch that just starts spiking in a way that they have never seen at the TVA, and that serves as a homing beacon for the TVA to exactly where the two Lokis are. And honestly, it's still kind of weird. And I was questioning this when it happened, because the Lokis, they're about to die. They are going to die in this apocalypse. There is no escape for them. There is no way out for them. This is their death. But then they are saved by the TVA. Saved, quote unquote. And it just brings forward the question, why not let them perish? why go and get them? You know, Hunter B-15 is desperate to track them down, saying we gotta stop them. But you can tell she's shaken by the events of the previous episode. Well, the episode before the last episode. Episode 2. After she had been enchanted by Sylvie. And it's pretty obvious that something kind of changed within her, but you're not really given any information on what. So the two Lokis are captured. They're sent to different offices. Loki is taken to Mobius's office, where he's thrown into this kind of time prison, where of all people we run into almost a illusionary loop of a past Sif, where Loki had cut her hair and pissed her off something royal. And that's actually, hilariously enough, in the Marvel comics, Sif used to have golden hair in the comics, but Loki, in a very mean way, in order to kind of one-up Sif, had cut her hair. And when, Thor demanded Loki get it restored, it ended up being restored as black hair. I think this was also kind of alluded to in the previous Thor movies as well, so a nice little bit of continuity. But as the TVA is kind of patting themselves on the back, we got the Lokis, we got the Lokis. When Mobius goes to talk to Ravonna about what happened to Hunter C-20, it's just like, oh, she was pruned, she was too damaged and all that. And he's just like, but she seemed fine before, she was talking. And all Ravonna can say is that, oh, well, her mental state deteriorated after a while. That's all there was to it. So you can obviously tell that there's something off here. Like, just outright pruning her because her mental state deteriorated? That seems very odd. And Mobius knows that there is something odd here. There's something not quite right. And so as Loki is brought out of the time prison, Mobius tries to interrogate him, tries to see had he and Sylvie been working together from the start, was this a conspiracy? He's trying to figure out exactly what happened between the two of them that got them to this point. At this point, he's mostly just trying to finish up the report. Dot his I's, cross his T's, all that good stuff. But as Loki kind of continues to lie and lie and lie, when Mobius suggests that, oh, Sylvie was killed, she was pruned, it happened, she tried to escape, she got pruned, blah, 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 and Loki starts to worry about that, starts to feel something, and Mobius realizes, oh, okay, so you fell in love with yourself, basically. He starts to realize that Loki had some kind of feelings for Sylvie. And so I think it was that Mobius was just kind of writing it off as Loki had kind of gotten himself enchanted, basically, by Sylvie. But as they start to wrap up the little interview, Loki reveals that what he learned from Sylvie was ultimately that everyone at the TVA, they're all variants. You are all variants. You used to have lives, you used to be people. There was something more to the world around you. The timekeepers are lying to you. Nothing is as it seems. And for the most part, Mobius kind of blows him off. Thinks, okay, no, it can't be that. But Loki says something that rattles him, and that's the fact that Sylvie has the ability to unlock these long dormant memories, able to kind of bypass the abilities of the timekeepers to keep these variants in the dark about their origin. Maybe that's why they considered her so dangerous, but at the same time, they've had opportunities to just do away with her, and they haven't. You see it throughout this entire episode. They could eliminate Sylvie and Loki and be done with them at any moment, and they never do. And you come to the realization that Hunter B-15 has had her memories kind of unlocked with the way that Sylvie has to enchant people by kind of inserting herself into their past to kind of gain a sense of trust, which I love the way that actually works. That's actually kind of genius. It's obvious that B-15 is remembering a life that she never had before. She is questioning the TVA. So she goes straight to Sylvie and, gets out a TemPad, takes her to the apocalypse that they were at originally at the Rocks cart. She questioned Sylvie. It's just like, what was that? What did I see? Why did it seem like I had a pass or something like that? What did you do to my mind? And Sylvie's just like, I did nothing. I simply unlocked what was already there. That's all I did. I accessed what was always there. It's the timekeepers who are keeping you in the dark about who and what you actually are. So B-15 asked to have more of her memories, shift through it, see the life that she used to have, used to live. And she breaks down crying. It's just like, I used to be happy. I used to be someone. So there's obviously something going on here. They obviously planned something. As next we see Sylvie, she's just kind of sitting in her cell again, with B-15 being nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, Ravana and Mobius are kind of having a little get together. She's just trying to shoot the shit, whereas he keeps prying deeper and deeper into this case about what happened to C-20. Why was she pruned? Why can't I go in and interview Sylvie? Why am I not allowed to talk to her? Because they completely barred him from investigating anything going on with her. And while Ravana makes it to seem like, oh, I'm trying to protect you, keep you from, finding out anything and basically being manipulated by Sylvie. But as Mobius goes to leave, he actually switches out his tempad with Ravana's, because it's obvious that he's starting to suspect something. He knows something is up. And as he goes to access Ravana's tempad in the library, he sees the interview that Ravana had with Hunter C-20. And that's that Hunter C-20 had remembered the life she used to live. The place that she saw when Sylvie accessed her memories, she's just like, this was a memory. I used to live somewhere. I used to have friends. I existed on the sacred timeline. And we see that Ravana was basically trying to gaslight her for the most part. And the moment that she realized that C-20 wasn't going to calm down or kind of comply or couldn't be bargained with, she was eliminated by Ravana. And it's because of this that Mobius goes racing over to Loki. It's just like, do you believe it? You're not enchanted. He's trying to make sure that what Loki said to him is the entire truth, because Mobius is starting to believe it now. Believe that something is not right here, that there's something fishy here, that the Lokis have poked holes in the TVA that the TVA isn't willing to investigate, which makes it all seem very fishy. And Mobius even talks about possibly just bringing down the TVA because something is obviously wrong here. But before they can set off, outside the time jail that Loki was put back into, they walk out and it's nothing but TVA agents and Ravana. And it's pretty obvious what's about to happen here as the Minutemen light up their sticks. And Mobius, going back to the conversation he was having with Ravana before about where he would go anywhere on the sacred timeline if he could, he's just like, I'd go back home to where I'm actually from. The life that I used to have before the TVA. And with those final words, he's erased. He's pruned. And it's just like, I'm freaking out because I'm just like, what the fuck? They killed off Owen Wilson? No, what? That can't be possible. I'm in such disbelief at this point because it's just like, oh no, what happens now? And oddly enough, they don't just eliminate Loki there and then. They take him to where Sylvie is being held, and they take her. And, Ravana is left as the only one to take both of them down to see the timekeepers. That audience with the timekeepers that they had kept wanting in some way, shape, or form, they're taken to it just with the reset collars on. so they can't really move too far out of place. And, Sylvie has this questioning with Ravana if she remembers her, or her questions why she needed to be, pruned from the sacred timeline. What was her crime? And Ravana says that, oh, I don't even remember. It's just very coldly. And so we get down into the den of the timekeepers. And at first I'm like surprised, because it's just like, oh my god, they're actually real. They're just there. Whoa. I wasn't expecting them to actually be real. I was expecting them to be like fake or something, but no, they're real, and they start talking to Loki and Sylvie. And I'm still kind of like, why even talk to them? Like, why did they even want to meet these two Lokis? Because all they really do is just postulate to each other. It's just like, oh, the timekeepers you are nothing, you will be ended, blah blah blah, you are never anything special. And the Lokis are just like, well, our Loki is just like, oh, go ahead and do what you need to do. Loki has been killed time and time again. It doesn't make any difference. And Sylvie's just like, I think you're afraid of us. I think that after all this time, you've been worried about who we are and what we could do. And as the timekeepers decree that they will be eliminated, enter Hunter B-15 like a badass bitch, and manages to disable their collars so that they can fight back against I guess specialized guards of the timekeepers. And so we get this awesome fight scene with the two Lokis, the guards, as well as Ravana going at it with Sylvie. They get this nice climactic fight. There's some okay choreography. It's really not the best. Nothing too impressive in the fight here, but they managed to knock out or kill all of the guards, as well as Ravana gets knocked out. And then, as the timekeepers are damn near begging for their lives, Sylvie cuts off the head of one of them, only for it to be revealed that the timekeepers are friggin' robots. They're just robots. I'm just like, what? Yo, I thought so. I knew they were probably going to be robots or something. That there was going to be some kind of twist. And it was just going to be like, oh, the timekeepers aren't even real or some shit like that. But it's just like, but then who's been in charge of all of this entire time? And before the two Lokis can figure anything out, our Loki gets erased by Ravana. Just right there and then. He gets pruned. And as Sylvie manages to gain the upper hand on Ravana in one swift motion before she can be pruned, Sylvie has Ravana dead to rights, ready to end her. But Ravana is just like, do it, go ahead. But Sylvie's just like, no, you're going to tell me everything. You're going to tell me everything that has been going on here. And I'm just like, yes, please do, because I am so in the dark about all this. And I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to pack it in, because I'm just like, okay, where do we go from here? Only for a post-credit scene to come up with Loki waking up somewhere. And I'm just like, but he was pruned. Does pruning not mean what we've thought it's meant this entire time? Like, what does it actually mean to be pruned from the sacred timeline? And Loki wakes up, it's just like, wait, am I dead? And then he gets addressed by, and this really took me off guard, 4 Lokis in what seemed to be a apocalyptic world. More than likely an erased timeline. So it goes to show that the TVA hasn't been destroying those timelines, just as, we've all thought that they've been actually destroying these timelines. No, they're sending these timelines somewhere. And Loki is where all the pruned people and erased timelines all get sent. And we see these 4 Lokis, one big black bald Loki with a hammer? Oddly enough, what looks to be the classic incarnation of Loki, because, it's an older guy, he's decked out in the spandex and all that good stuff. You could almost say that he's just some guy in a Loki cosplay to the most part, but he looks like classic Loki. a reptilian Loki? It's essentially just a crocodile wearing a Loki helmet, but I mean, that would constitute enough as a Loki. And interestingly enough, Kid Loki. It's Kid Loki. Like, it seemed as though we were going to be losing a Loki, be down one Loki. It's just like, nope, we've gained 4. That's not how math works. So it's even more of a situation where the TVA has not been doing what they've said they have been doing. Because if to some degree all these Lokis still exist, if all these alternate timelines, worlds, still exist to some degree, then what has been the real purpose of the TVA? What have they been doing? And why? For all the answers that we've gotten up until this point, it's just raised 10 more questions. I'm still under the belief that a lot of this has been engineered by Kang the Conqueror, because seriously, that's damn near the last person that we could possibly have. I'd be weirded out to find out that there were never any timekeepers or anything like that, and it had always been these mechanical beings or something. I don't know. I really don't want this to be a disappointing conclusion to all of this, because this really is a fascinating direction to take all of this. There's obviously something deeper going on with this entire series, and the writers are doing a wonderful job of keeping us all in the dark. But I really am hoping that the payoff that they come to really sells this thing. Because we've only got 2 more episodes, as far as I know. So as they say, we are in the end game. This is the time to really show us what you can do. Blow our minds, Marvel. But at the same time, don't just pull something out of your ass. I need enough secrets to be wrapped up so I feel satisfied, but at the same time, have enough mystery left to make me want to see where things go next. Because, let's be real, we need something to make all of this relevant, because the Lokis we've been following are not relevant to the main MCU timeline. That's the whole point. They're variants. We need this to kick off Multiverse of Madness. We need this to segue into Quantumania. We need all of this to have long-lasting effects on the MCU, to help build toward everything we will be seeing in the next few years. Because with WandaVision, we set up that the Scarlet Witch is in a continued fractured mental state, that she could be a hero or a villain going forward. That at least leads into Multiverse of Madness in some way, shape, or form. When it came to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yes, it set up that, okay, now Falcon is Cap, but where does that lead into? Where will we see him next? We know that he has a movie coming soon enough where he'll be Captain America, but beyond that, where are we going to see Falcon next? He's got this spiffy new suit. We need to do something interesting with it. But when it comes to Loki, it's just like, give me something. You can't cap this all off, all this stuff about time travel, and have no mention of Kang whatsoever. Hell, even make it so that at the end of this, Kang comes into being because of all these shenanigans. I will take that that much at the very least. But you gotta do something to make this relevant without making it convoluted or needless in the grand scheme of things. So I really want to see what they do with all of this. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Where do you think they are going with all of this? Were you shocked that the Timekeepers weren't real? Or were you tricked into thinking they were real and then shocked that they weren't? Like I was. I definitely was surprised. I'm just like, damn! They faked me out again. But who do you think is actually behind the TVA? Was Sylvie's imminent pruning really just because she was a female Loki? Where do you think Loki ended up with all those other Lokis? Is it literally just a dumping ground for alternate realities and all that good stuff. That'd be kind of wild. I wonder what we'll end up seeing because of all of that. I'm really interested to hear some thoughts and theories. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Or don't. I ain't your daddy, but I still love you like one. And I will see you in the next Loki review. Bye-bye.